All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here in our third session already. I cannot believe it. Especially here to be like some of my colleagues were saying, the week before spring break. I know that everybody's starting to get really busy, but hopefully, again, it's some good information that will help you with your learning and your teaching here at SMU. So we're gonna go over a few ideas here about how to make classes, right? Especially with more complicated, um, colluded topics, more accessible to students, and of course, eventually the retention of the material. We're gonna be talking about especially those building blocks model and something that this model that I call the base. That I think is tends to be really good and really has helped me a lot in my classes when I'm delivering material for my 1402 students. At the end, I'm gonna show you basically how I take all these models and principles into practice, and hopefully with that you can start getting some ideas on how you can incorporate some of these aspects in your own classes. So the first thing, okay, you have 10 seconds, you have 10 vocabulary words. Let's see how many you can memorize. Tin, 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 tin. See? So how many you were able to memorize? Probably nothing, right? So most of the approaches, correct, especially, regardless of the level, is like, here is a list of materials and just go over them and they're going to be in the exam, right? Like our, study guys, these all the topics and everything that you need to memorize. But what it tends to happen with this is that we've been mentioning during these sessions, is that again memory just it tends to be locked into certain degrees, and when you need to open those ideas. So when we tend to have all these type of presentations with a lot of information, what happens with our memory just gets overloaded. So too much information at once, and there's just no way to process that. So just like we see over here, by the time that I start the timer, you barely get into the instructions, correct? So it's just too much information. And again, there's no way for the student to see connections, to see anything. So the brain, unless you have some type of eidetic memory, is basically gonna get rid of everything. Now, instead of doing this, right, we tend to try to plan and create our lessons between, again, how do we make sure that all this content doesn't get into a big scramble of ideas and just when it's just impossible for students to pay any attention to retain anything. So we know that when we're doing an overload of information in our classes, in our lectures, in our presentations, it's going to create actually the opposite. Instead of students sees all those ideas and it's just going to like, I'm bored already. So okay, this is my time to go to the restroom. See? So it actually reduces the retention. Having more sometimes not the best. It's not like they're gonna be more engaged. Sometimes it could be actually quite the contrary. Now we need a structure as well. Why? Because again, that's gonna improve the comprehension, and all these ideas, okay, eventually are gonna affect the learning. So now, when we're talking about the overload in the classes versus the structural learning, I want you to think about this following. Something that we try to avoid, or I try to avoid in my classes, is again the example that we just saw at the beginning, right? Trying to go over an expectation of 20 vocabulary words, then mix grammar, then have some type of conversation task, mix the culture, but everything is at once, correct? And what it tends to happen here is that you just have a crumble. See, too much ideas going on at the same time, and the students again overload their memory, and they're just again not able to retain any of your information. So with this, instead, okay, we can create these building blocks into the lesson, and by having this, we have less time for the students to get distracted, to get bored. And instead, what they're doing, right, is they're able to incorporate activities, okay, 5 to 10 minutes to incorporate all these basic steps into the lesson, and for them to the outcome to be a lot better. So this building block approach, see, again, helps the instructor to have manageable sessions between the class. So for example, normally we teach 15-minute classes to approach these different concepts that tend to be complicated. See, and again, eventually get into the previous learned material and to build confidence, which I think is the most important thing. Most of the students, they know the material, they prepare, they study, but it's the confidence of using the material actually in the class. And I think one of them, at least for, again, as many of you, the class that I teach are language classes, but regardless of this, we want the students to feel comfortable and confident about the knowledge that they're gaining in class, not only for the purpose of the exam, because normally what happens with exams, with quizzes, is that if we study for the exam, for the test, the moment that we take it, everything goes away, correct? So what we're trying to do here, again, with this sequencing of ideas, is to reduce the overload, but more importantly, for the student to actually feel that the concept that they're learning is like, I just not memorize it, like I actually can use it in real life situations. And once they build that confidence, that material is going to be a lot harder for them to forget about it. Now, in idea, in theory, most of my classes will look something like this, correct? So like I mentioned, instead of having, I want to purpose culture, my purpose in the class is to introduce culture, grammar, vocab. Instead of everything at once, correct? I start with these building blocks I was mentioning. So like always, some type of introduction, check-in, just a warm-up. Could be anything. It could be like, ¿cómo estás? Like a small, conversation between the students. And then again, always have the expectations of what is going to be happening in the classroom and kind of reward those ideas. So something that I like to start my class all the time is what we previously have done already. And again, to be able to engage in the class, students are supposed to have that information. Again, come prepared. That is the motivation. And motivation can be rewarded with a simple, like, good job. Could be like we were mentioning, can go to Amazon, buy like 100 candy for like $5. So you have candy for everybody for the rest of the semester. And students really, it seems like almost childish, but those ideas in the classroom, especially like I mentioned, me teaching this class 5 times per day, 50 minutes, it's 5 times per week, I'm sorry. It's just, it starts to become intense, especially like in a week like this one, when it's the week before spring break. So this is what it looks in 30. Here I'm gonna show you some examples in a moment. So my biggest tips that I can give you, regardless of what type of technology or activities you're gonna be creating in class, right, is that it's fundamental that you incorporate group activities, partners, or some type of engagement in the class. Now, this is important, really important in my opinion, that you start incorporating for the beginning of the class, because it just sets the pace and the mood of the classroom, correct? Now, when we have individual work, which I know that sometimes we have to, okay? The thing over here is that I tend to isolate the student, and it's like, okay, I'm doing really good, but I really don't care about the progress of the rest of the students. And even though grades are assigned individually, once you create that community in the classroom and students are actually like responsible about each other's learning, which it tends to seem like in paper really good, but you can achieve that by doing this. And it's easy as doing activities where, in order for us to get to the answer, we need the help or collaboration of everybody. And when somebody gets the answer incorrect, it's like the instructor sometimes doesn't even have to say anything. It's like, it's wrong because of this. But remember what we say about in that community, that engagement, okay? Again, it's just gonna create those connections, okay? It's just gonna make that memory to not be overloaded, because actually it's engaging, it's participating, it's enjoying in the classroom environment. So maintaining that interest, and again, being able to cater to different learning styles. Now, how do we accomplish this? Well, again, we all are masters in our classroom, right? We master the information. The thing over here is, again, how we're gonna make that information relatable and again, accessible for our students. So interactive tools, as you've been seeing in my session, is something that I use a lot, correct? And here again, we're gonna go and see some examples here, real life examples about how this theory looks into practice. See, Constantine? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah.
Rodrigo, you mentioned catering to different learning styles.
Yeah.
I know that's a pedagogically sound thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to fully like test it out in a way like where I'm like, what are the learning styles?
Yeah.
Beyond me just trying to reach them by doing different kinds of activities.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could, if such a thing has been done or something to do.
There has been enough research. Actually, the whole auditory and visual, unfortunately, was debunked. So there was research to try to figure out, and there isn't enough data to support.
To support multiple learning styles?
To support, like I'm an auditory learner, I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
Like that stuff has been debunked.
Okay.
Because we all learn in different, like it's multimodal, so it's just there are different things, but that's not there was enough data to say this is something that is sound.
Knowing what
used a lot.
Yeah, knowing what Constantine, again, he makes a thank you, Eddie. Gracias, Constantine. It's again exactly right. Like in theory, like all of this seems like really interesting, but how do we actually take it to the practice, correct? And again, that is the intention of this type of workshops, to see how we can do that hands-on in the classroom. Now, what I can say to Constantine question is that it could be sometimes as simple as one student that actually wants just to come to the board and write the answer, right? It could be something as simple like, instead of me giving this information, is them working into partners and being able to figure out the answer together. So this type of different activities, right, Constantine? The idea is that even though you not might get all the different, and all the likes and that because having 16 students in a classroom is to like impossible to have one activity that everybody's gonna enjoy, but it's getting the closest to that, right? It's getting the closest to that, and then again, the idea is that you're not gonna be doing the same thing every single day. The idea is to have that variedad, that diversity. So again, maybe this class today there was, but then you start seeing that feedback in the students, and that is something, Constantine, that I think is fundamental. And that's what I was saying. Like the foundations of how the class is gonna go that first and second week are essential, because you're setting the pace of how it's going. And then students, you can see the reactions, correct? You can see the reactions. Do you like, what you can? This activity seems to be more engaging for them. This activity, this one didn't work this well in the classroom, and you can see that either in the classroom or again through feedback. We can incorporate, for example, feedback in Canvas that is completely anonymous, and it's like, okay, we're 1 month into the semester. What are the activities that you have enjoyed the most? What do you think have been the activities that you have learned the most, more importantly? Because it could be something that is really fun for them, like watching a video, but does the video has a academic purpose for it, correct? And I think that is Constantine, something that I also, right? Like we all, again, professors, and we were having our, pedagogy classes on, all these theories, and sometimes like, well, how do I apply this really fancy theory that is, 20-page article actually into the real life classroom, correct? And I think getting a little bit of everything, put it into the classroom and see what works and what doesn't work. And again, the whole idea of these type of sessions is that show you exactly what it has been working for me. And again, why? See? So again, have these interactive tools, these different ways to approach the information, so that opinions, the confidence in the knowledge can be expressed by the students. Yeah. So now we're gonna go and take a look into a geniality that I created for one of my classes. And now through the geniality, you'll be able to see not only, again, the different type of structures that I have here, the building blocks, but also this framework that I think it is important especially in these type of activities that are more interactive, so it doesn't feel like they're just playing a game. They're just not like playing Mario Kart and like, well, yeah, they're having a really good time, but what is the purpose of that, right? So the blocks, you will see them. They're really obvious, and again, they're different. They're gonna be different dungeons here in the in the genealogy presentation. And of course, with that, well, the attention is grabbed almost immediately, correct? Now, this is where also like personalities come into play, because we all professors, we all have different personalities. Classes have different personalities, correct? I do believe that, just like Constantine says, we professors have a really complicated job. I love what I do, but it seems like we need to be a master on the subject that we teach. And then we have to be like the biggest entertainer ever. Like we need to be better than magicians, that like better than Lady Gaga, you know, exactly. And it's like, that is hard, because it's like, yes, I'm trying to entertain you. I try to maintain you engaged, but I also need to teach you the topic, which are college subjects, which is not like, oh, 1 + 1 is 2. It's not that simple, correct? And then again, what Constantine said, and then how do I make these 60 that because you can think that you have the most coolest presentation or you're giving the best joke ever, but it's like Constantine says, there's still gonna be maybe one person that didn't get the joke, or it's like, that's not funny for me. So it's again getting to the closest to everybody, okay? Most of the times, to have your full attention and to be engaged, and again creating those connections. And for me, from all these different types of learning styles, and you know, if you're a visual, etc., like Constantine was mentioning, for me, I do rely on that, on this part a lot with emotion. I believe that when students are engaged, either because they're having fun with the class activities, they see that there's a purpose to the material that you're teaching them. Again, think about your subject area. There's a reason why we teach these classes, not just because to have a requirement and then you feel it. There's a purpose behind this. If you're able to make the knowledge throughout these attention connections, building blocks, to create an emotion to that, attached to that, the students are going to react tremendously to this. And then again, this is the part that the personalities of the professors have to show up, correct? So I know we have a difficult task to get, but in certain degree, we need to see ourselves sometimes as these entertainers, these again leaders of the classroom, and to set the mood of this. Now, the good thing about this, see, as I'm going to the question over here, Constantine, is that we do have tools at our disposal, right, to help us with this part of how do I bring all these ideas, like in paper, in theory, sound really good, how to actually present it in the class, right? So as I'm opening the second presentation that I have here prepared for all of us, Constantine, please, your question.
Go back one slide.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
I understand all the rest. I don't understand blocks. What are blocks?
So the blocks, we were referring to the exactly. So referring to these ideas over here, Constantine, of like not saturate everything at once. Exactly. So to divide the knowledge, to divide information between, again, different parts of the class. See, 5 minutes for this, 5 minutes for that, and not all at once. It's correct. And again, like I mentioned a moment ago, the way that you're gonna see the blocks in this presentation that I'm gonna teach you here in a moment is like we're gonna have different dungeons, and every dungeon is basically a block of information that I want the students to get at. Now, one of the things is that for my class in particular, because we going over something like Spanish 1402, when it's again a second level part of the language. Some of the concepts seem to be simple in a certain in a sense, but they can actually be really complex. Now, through the different examples that I'm going to show you here in this activity that I have, you will see that, like I was mentioning at the beginning, you don't need to overload students with information. but with a simple sentence, with some of ideas that, again, according to whatever you're teaching, you can get really specific into what you're trying to the students to retain, to memorize, to actually grasp. And then again, make sure that the students memorize it. So now, this is a class, or this is a game that is basically based in Dungeons and Dragons. The goal is to escape the dungeons, and then again, eventually, they're gonna defeat a dragon at the end. Right. Now, I have some colleagues after the CTE on the first presentation when I've introduced, it was not this activity, it was the escape room, the horror escape room. And some colleagues, they were in a really advanced, biology, chemistry classes. And even for that, there's a way that we can incorporate this. Because some of the things that we need to understand is that your class could be like the main focus, the activity that we have here in front of you, right? But you can stop and you can talk about other stuff at the same time. And for example, here, there's a moment at the end, before they're gonna destroy or defeat the dragon, right? That I want them to actually, okay, go into a more complex, advanced activity, correct? So for that part, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a champion for the game. And the champion of the game, I give them a set of instructions. And now they're going to be writing like a whole paragraph, okay, about something specific that I want them to accomplish during the class. Now, first person to get it, no mistakes, they come and defeat the dragon. So again, that emotion, that connection, and again, those blocks, all right, when we start with this, and that to the culmination of what, again, is something that I want them to accomplish, not only for, of course, for the exam, but again, for the information that, again, the goals and the purpose of the class as a whole. Now, when we have, exactly, yeah, when we have these type of activities in class, one of the comments, and I'm focusing about this, is because somebody in my, again, I'm from Spanish, I'm in the world language department. I had a few colleagues like outside, like off the records, told me, well, Rodrigo, it's because your personality, like you're able to do some of these activities because, I mean, you just, and again, I understand we all have different personalities in the classroom. But here, it's like there's ways that even you're not the most like outgoing person in the world, you can still create a lot of activities and a lot of original ideas that students will appreciate. So, for example, here, let's imagine that you're just a person that, you don't want to put yourself, like do like this, like interpretations of this, like legend says, you get people involved. Like I always get somebody, okay, in the classroom, and okay, you're gonna read this. And remember, we're in a Spanish kingdom over here, and you incorporate yourself. You see, I'm right there, Professor Lopez. So I'm not gonna read any of these. I'm gonna have my students read it for me, but they're engaged. They know that this is not just a random activity that I got from the internet. And again, that creates that connection. That creates that engagement. And again, it ultimately creates that emotions. Because it's like, Professor Lopez, do you really create? Yeah, that is my name, right? That is, exactly. Of course, I take my time for my classes. You even look good for your students, all right? Because the thing over here is that we need to understand is that sometimes we again, responding to some of the questions that some of my colleagues had, it's not like trying for you go over the top to do a song or be dancing. It's just making sure that the students are feeling that you're spending the time in your classes, because sometimes it feels like that. It's sometimes like, oh, the professor still has the same PowerPoints from 10 years ago, correct? So the emotion, especially in today's day, the emotion of the students, like, well, it seems like, it's just the class being recycled and recycled over again, correct? So it is important of this innovation. And again, even if you don't want to use the technology, there's other, think about that presentation or that activity that you have, how you can become more engaging in the sense that how it's going to create emotions. Now, I don't think I'm going to have time for this, but I do also a lot of games, okay, for reviews, like Espanol Party, I call them, like it's just a mock-up for Jeopardy. And you can have things like that when you can connect students in the sense that you can have things that connect regardless of your course that you're teaching. specifically them, right? A video of them doing certain activity, a picture, just something, correct? I love doing that in my classroom because, again, for me, it works really well. I have people and it's like, okay, who was the person that had a camiseta roja? And those connections, because instead of just a camiseta roja, I actually have the class with that person with the camiseta roja. It creates that emotion. It creates those connections. So now here, once we start doing all this, and again, the attention grabbing, now we actually get into this, into the game, right? So again, think about everything, all right? Again, if you don't feel comfortable like being like this, like out of, you have dialogues, there's just so much ways that you can engage with your class, right, to create those connections, those attention grabbers. So here I always tell them, like, this is Professor Lopez, now old, and you're gonna, again, this kingdom and everything, and again, students are just reading everything, and then even silly things like there's only a brilliance, and I always have somebody that says, no, like, I'm gonna pass, I'm not gonna do it, and then I have me, and I'm crying, stuff like that. So it just, again, really, really funny, really attention grabber stuff. But again, here is where the thing, well, it seems right now, okay, I get it. Everything seems like a game, but what is the purpose of this? Well, here, again, we get into the first dungeon. We're going to get into our first gem over here. And here's where the blocks over here start. So they don't know it, but the theory behind this is that we're going to focus on grammar. We're going to focus on the grammar that I want them to prepare and to study and to know. All right. And by doing this, okay, for them it seems like a game, but that's what we're doing. So now, most of the times we feel, again, that, well, it's just a simple feeling the answer over here. There's really, but you can do a lot. And again, this is where the master, you the professor, that your subject, how you can do a lot with something that seems a lot simple. Now, tú, Blanc, estar estudiando en España durante 4 años. I'm doing a lot of things here, right? Now, I'm not overloading the students. It's not like, well, are you not doing precisely what you're trying to avoid the overload? No, because it's by incorporations. It's because of these blocks that I'm introducing the information that I know that students are going to be hesitating. And again, I can go everything. Now, here, really easy. It's just conjugations, because I want them to look at the conjugations. I want to look at these irregular verbs. And then here, the only thing that I'm doing is an accent mark that is not supposed to be there. Now, we have the vocab, we have ideas over here. And then again, I continue to form this and as they progress. Now, here, for example, and I'm going to go with Monica in a moment, it seems like it's so simple, this one over here, right? As Constantine gives Monica the microphone. But this is something that we practice, or that is important for us. And again, I know that most of us, we're not here in the Spanish speakers. But for example, here, traer, which is an irregular verb in Spanish here in the pretérito, and common mistake is to not drop that I in the end, correct? So I'm precisely catering for a mistake that I see repeated and repeated and repeated. So it's not just like a random sentence here, which for many of, again, it might seem, but it has that purpose. And then here, Constantine, right, is that I know that I'm not gonna, the learning, right? It's like, how do I, here is like, my intention is like, well, somebody's gonna have the attention because we're playing the game, right? Somebody's gonna be with the visual, somebody's gonna be with the game per se, with the audio. And then again, the practice, the information is right here in front of them, right? So those like click trajeron, oh, yeah, no mistake, right? No, but don't worry, you get another chance, it's fine, okay? And then somebody's like, no, you shouldn't click trajeron. It's trajeron. Remember, you drop the I because it's a J-stem verb. And then we progress with this, correct? So again, here, more vocab over here. And then we go into more advanced stuff. So here I don't give them the verb anymore. So, okay, you know your conjugations. But if you don't know vocab, you're going to be lost. Yo que comprar, over here, yo que comprar, estudiar mucho anoche. Yo estuve que comprar, yo tuve que comprar, estudiar mucho anoche. Over here, I make a type on this one, as you can see. This one, none of them make sense. So, exactly. So this one, I went too fast. So yeah, so obviously always double check your answers. Exactly. Now here, this one over here, this one makes sense over here. ¿Sí? Mi amiga Lisa no, ¿sí? Lo que pasó en la fiesta. So here we're talking about how verbs change meaning the pretérito. So here we're talking about supo, ¿sí? So now we done with the grammar, okay? They finished what they want us to do. And now we go to the second block, which for them, again, is the theory into practice. And it's, again, the different ideas. Now, we're in vocab, obviously, here, right? So remember, at the beginning, how many of these ones you were able to recall? I mean, nothing. And at this moment, you forgot about all of them, correct? So now here, the idea is like, you're gonna try to get as much of your audience, like we were saying. Now, you're not gonna get all of them, but the idea is to hopefully, with all the different activities, eventually you will get everybody, correct? With the different styles, their preferences, what they like, and again, creating these ideas and these memories, these core memories, so they don't forget about it. Monica, before I continue, yeah, let's go. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted, it's very easy. Just wanted
yeah.
to ask you if the students they engage in this game like individually through the cell phones,
Yeah.
laptops. And another question is, for example, like a very short game like this, I suppose that you use this like 5-10 minutes, no? As a maximum. I don't know. How long does it take you to prepare this?
Yes. So two questions over
you.
here. Yeah, exactly. The engagement, Monica, could be anywhere that you with Genially. You can do it any is your choice. You can have students in their phones getting into exactly in the computers. They can or one like I'm doing right now. They come over here, take turns, or you have one group in each of the dungeons as a group. You know, it's up to you. You can assign it offline as well. So, for example, let's imagine you have, because at this moment I've been creating more and more. So sometimes I don't have enough time in the class to do all of them. So sometimes I'm already starting assigning offline. By the way, those work perfectly for online classes. So if you have like online classes, this is a good idea to look into that. So it could be anywhere, in any way that you want, Monica. Now, how long it takes me? So exactly. So as you notice, correct? The first dungeon that you saw, I completely rewrite that one is precisely for this presentation, right? Because I wanted for you to see specifically the different building blocks that I'm working, like grammar, now vocab, and etc. etc. So that one, this presentation, Monica, if it's the first time that you're doing it, and this is a really big one as well, it could take you between 30 minutes to 40 minutes, maybe. Exactly. So yeah, it just is, exactly, maybe an hour the first time. Now that first dungeon that I made, and remember there's even a typo in there that exactly is because I literally finished that like in 2-3 minutes. And obviously you can see for me it's not like how you to create it. It's pretty straightforward. It would be like double check your work. For me, I did exactly in that one. I did it exactly, and I make a big type on that one. Exactly. Exactly. So again, this is and again, whatever platform you're using, right? We've been talking about Mentimeter, we're talking about Nearpod. Exactly. This is Geniality. This is another one, right? But again, they're really intuitive at this moment. And again, hopefully, as more people are interested in this, we can actually do hands-on workshops, correct? So here, like always, what I want to present is why I do this in the classes. It's not just the purpose of the ideas, but of course, Monica, like, yeah, I'm convinced, right? Like how I do this now for my classes, and that exactly, just sit down with the different softwares and just spend a little bit of time with it, exactly. But it's not as impossible as it might seem. So we were talking about, well, it's like not everybody has your personality. I completely agree with that. But you don't have to have like a really outgoing personality. You can create emotions and connections again using tools like this one. And well, I'm not a tech savvy person. That's the other thing, right? As the professor, technology is getting more and more advanced to the point that it's becoming more and more intuitive, to the point that you don't need to know coding. I don't know coding. This is just created for me, right? It's just what are the ideas and what are the type of activities that I do. So here, I'm looking at espárragos, see? I'm looking at los espárragos. Well, los espárragos are here. Algo dulce, see? So algo dulce, well, here I have a manzana, see? I'm looking for my flan over here, correct? Now, think about here, la quinceañera, where that is la boda. Again, everything's on purpose. So this is vocab, these are my wedding, my celebraciones. I want the quinceañera, so I do the quinceañera. Now, we go back, see, because I'm about to run out of time. Okay, and I'm gonna finish with this. Oh, well, I have one more. I want you to see the dragon, all right? So in the 10 at the beginning, vocab ideas that I gave you, one of those ones were cheese. It was el queso. I promise you, like, I forgot it, and I'm the one, I created this, right? Now, ¿qué comida es la favorita de Mickey Mouse? So I have a banana, and I have over here my queso. See? I promise you, right? Of course, I have a lot of Spanish professors, but all of those of you that don't speak Spanish, it's going to be a hard time for you to forget queso. So that's what I was constantly saying, is that in theory, all of that sounds really good. But what are we going to be doing, okay, to try to bring that theory that in paper seems to seem really nice to actually hands-on reality, and again, the purpose of it. And that queso being the favorite, Mickey Mouse favorite food, and with the queso right here, okay? Hopefully one day, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna forget about queso. See? So now I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna skip a few dungeons, okay? And again, we have more of my blocks in there. So I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna click on this one. And at the end of the day, for example, here, my goal of this activity is for them to prepare not only for the exam, but also eventually to get into our escritura. Now, our escrituras in my class, they're going to be this 250 word paragraph about over here. Let me see if I can do the whole presentation here. Give me a moment. So I'm gonna get rid of this over here. Okay, there you go. Okay, so they finally done all the building blocks. We got everything. So now here, I have somebody like reading as the dragon, and again creating exactly those immersions in the classroom, and then somebody has to destroy the dragon, and this is where, like, okay, we don't need the computer all the time, or you writing all like here, just grab a blank piece of paper. I give them a piece of paper, and the writing prompt is something like, okay, I need a 10 sentences paragraph about what you ate in your last vacation in Cabo or something like that, right? What did you like the most about it? Who you were, etc., etc. So I'm targeting what eventually is going to be my escritura, one of a really complex assignment for them, because from scratch they need to write about in Spanish in the topic about a specific idea, correct? So that is a really complex thing. It's like, maybe my genealogy is like, how am I gonna make 60? You can go back to the basics and go back to just pen and paper, correct? It's okay to also do those things. And like I was mentioning, is with that, hopefully hitting all the targets. It's like everybody's engaging in the class, right? So now, finally, after that, somebody's gonna give me the answer, and then I'm making come over here, and then they kill the dragon, and they save us forever, exactly, right? So I'm gonna have my winner, my champion, the whole class that has escaped, and there you go. That is the end. See? So they defeat the dragon, and of course, I am so proud of all my students. So, different ways, different approaches. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like Monica was asking, all these are templates, right? That you can use. There's no coding. You don't have to be super tech savvy. Now, please take advantage of the all the CT initiatives that they have. Like Adi mentioned the other day, the just in time for teaching. Exactly. That's how I got by the way, the money to use Geniali, which I appreciate a lot. And yes, so that's it for me. And questions, I'm guessing, in the Zoom.
No, just, there's a just-in-time teaching and technology grant. So right before the beginning of the classes, you get an email from us. That's when we open a call for proposals. So faculty can get up to $500 to purchase things for their class that can improve pedagogy. So it can be a technology tool like a Genially subscription, or it could be, we've done so many things. Like for anthropology, they get like skull models, for an anthropology class. So we've done before in business, somebody got games, like they got actually a pandemic games for organizational management courses, like because they have to work collaboratively to save the people in the game. And but it's really fun because then the students are playing the game and the professor was teaching the concepts that were happening as the game. So there's all different uses, but it's up to $500 per faculty. So you can propose one initiative and then at least you can try the tool out for the term.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to continue having that, then you have to ask your department chair or your dean, but then you have proof of concept. It's like, this is how I've been using in class. I got this grant. And
that again, that is the idea, regardless of gracias, Constantine, regardless of the area, regardless of the subject, to create, again, those emotions, those connections that, again, they're going to lead to what the goals of the class are, the purpose, just the gaining of the knowledge for the students. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I like that you I like this idea of the building blocks.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I never thought about it in that way. I might have accidentally broke things up, but now with the structure, I can actually be more intentional to build blocks. That's great. And then I need to still think about, I just got an account in Geniality.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to, because I do a lot of have them break up into groups and start working on a concept that I just, lectured on. And I'm trying to figure out how to use Geniality to do it. But
yeah, and that is when,
make it a good game.
we can, share ideas, exactly. I'm gonna with Ari here in a moment, I'm gonna share this Dungeon and Dragon presentation. But I mean, think about, because you're already doing it in class, correct? You're already, like you said, sometimes we don't even thinking about it, but we're doing this building because they work, right? It's like this class just get better when I do certain, and that's what we're doing, correct? So now it's like, regardless, Mentimeter Geniality is like to how to engage those students into this idea. So it could be something that this one, a game, right? It could be something as less engaging or like more straightforward as like in the second session that I had. I remember that the secret word, right? There's so many activities, so many different templates that you can use throughout different software technology to help engage you with that. Exactly. And what are your purposes for you? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll apply for the.
Yay.
That would be great. And it would be
called Breakout. Have you heard of it? Breakout Learning. So it's AI driven, and you record your team discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It could be over some case analysis you're doing, or for my class, it would be, applying brainstorming, divergent thinking tools for creativity and idea generation.
Yeah.
And I could, and because I don't see them or hear them as they work in their teams.
Exactly.
So this is a tool. They approached me, and I'm trying to decide how to implement it. So you might see me apply.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that is exactly, and that is precisely awesome. And that is the whole idea of this type of presentations, workshops, is like maybe this Geniality actually for your class and for your concepts, there's a better software out there that it will work better for your situation. But the thing is, like, there exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yes.
And that's why I think that's the idea of these workshops, right? In these sessions, is like to never start improving our classes. Just because I do Geniality and Mentimeter, I'm not gonna stop there. I'm just thinking about I'm already thinking about the next thing that I'm going to incorporate in my classes, correct?
Yeah.
So yes, I completely agree with you. And like for different, what are your goals in the class for that particular day? And okay, I'm gonna use this for this. I'm gonna use this, for this. But yeah, I think that's exactly. And those again with those blogs, with those theories behind it that in paper. But again, that is a good framework to get started. And then what am I gonna be using? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.